Good evening to you, my dear friend. Before you reach over to switch off that lamp tonight, before you finally allow the weight of this long day to slide gently off your tired shoulders, I am asking you for just a few quiet minutes of your time. Only a few. Because what I am about to share with you tonight may very well be one of the most important things you ever hear about protecting the single possession that no amount of money in this world can ever buy back once it begins to quietly slip away from you. I am talking about your mind, your memory, your beautiful, irreplaceable ability to recognize the faces of the people you love most, and to recall the tender stories that make you exactly who you are. Here is a truth that almost no one is sitting you down to explain, and it is a truth that changed everything for me. The hours right before you fall asleep are not dead time. They are not wasted, hollow, empty minutes to be filled with mindless television or a careless handful of whatever happens to be closest at hand. No, those hours are a golden window, a sacred window, and what you choose to place into your body during that narrow, precious window can either quietly accelerate the slow, silent erosion of your brain, or it can actively, measurably, and powerfully rebuild it while you lie there peacefully resting. Because here is the wonder of it. Your brain does not shut down when you drift off to sleep. It does the exact opposite. It roars to life. It begins the single most important repair work of the entire 24-hour cycle. Work it can only perform in the dark and the quiet. Now, I want to be completely and utterly clear with you from the very first breath of this conversation, because your trust is something I take seriously. I am not here selling you anything at all. I am not here on behalf of some supplement company, quietly hoping you will rush out and buy yet another expensive little bottle of capsules that will only sit forgotten in the back of your cabinet gathering dust. I am talking about real, ordinary, honest food. The kind of food sitting on the shelves of your grocery store this very moment. The kind of food that may already be waiting inside your own refrigerator tonight. Food that researchers at some of the most respected and trusted institutions on this entire planet have discovered can genuinely repair your memory circuits, quiet the silent inflammation that wears away at your brain tissue year after year after year, and even encourage the miraculous growth of brand new neural connections while you sleep soundly. And here is the part that genuinely breaks my heart every single time I think about it. Most people over the age of 60 are unknowingly starving their own brains at the precise moment those brains are crying out for nourishment more desperately than they ever have in their entire lives. They eat the wrong things, or worse, they eat nothing at all. And then they wake in the morning wondering, with a quiet ache of fear, why the fog never seems to lift. Tonight, my friend, for you, that painful pattern ends, right here, right now. My name is Dr. William Lee, and I have devoted more than 3 full decades of my life to studying how the food we eat speaks directly to the human body at the deepest possible cellular level, the level where our health is truly won or lost. What I am about to share with you tonight comes straight from the very frontier of modern neuroscience, and I am going to be honest with you in a way I only wish more physicians had the time to be. Your own doctor has almost certainly never spoken a single word of this to you during one of those rushed, hurried, 10-minute appointments. And please understand something important. That is not their personal failing. The system they are forced to work inside simply does not grant them the minutes required. But tonight I am giving you those minutes freely. I am giving you my full, complete, and undivided attention, and I am asking only for yours in return. Now, before we ever reach the actual list, I have to tell you about a study that genuinely stopped me cold the very first time I read it. Researchers at the University of Toronto published remarkable findings showing that carefully chosen nutrition, consumed specifically in the evening hours within 90 minutes of falling asleep, improved memory consolidation scores by as much as 43% in adults over the age of 65, when compared directly to those who ate nothing at all, or who ate the wrong things before bed. Please, stop and let that number truly settle deep into your mind for a moment. 43%. That is not a rounding error. That is not some trivial little bump on a chart to be waved away. That is the very difference between walking confidently to exactly where you left your reading glasses and spending 20 exhausting, frustrating minutes searching every single room of your home each morning. That is the difference between effortlessly recalling your grandchildren's birthdays and feeling that cold, sinking, terrible moment of blankness that so many of my own patients have described to me, with tears welling up in their eyes, as one of the most frightening experiences of growing older. And here is something else I want you to carry gently with you as we walk through this together tonight. The number one food on our countdown, the single most powerful brain-repairing food you can possibly eat before bed, is something that nearly everyone over the age of 70 has been told, again and again and again, to avoid completely and entirely. I will reveal it to you at the very end, and I promise you faithfully, it is going to genuinely surprise you. So please, stay with me all the way through to the very finish, because that final food is the one I recommend most urgently and most passionately to my own patients, the one I would want my own dear mother eating tonight without hesitation. But before we take even one more step forward, I want to hear from you directly. Drop a comment below right now and tell me two simple things, just two: your age and whether you have noticed any changes at all in your memory or your mental sharpness over these last few years. I read every single comment on this channel personally, with my own two eyes, and your honest answers genuinely shape the information I choose to bring you. We have built something truly remarkable here together, a real and living community of people who flatly refuse to simply sit back and accept decline as their unavoidable fate. People who are taking their health firmly and bravely into their own hands. I want to know truly that you are here with us tonight. So please go ahead and tell me. Now, let us begin together. We are counting down from 5 all the way to 1, ranked from beneficial right up to the single most powerful brain-repairing food you can eat before you close your eyes tonight. Let us start with number 5. Number 5 on our list tonight is the humble, unassuming blueberry. And what this small little fruit does to your sleeping brain is something researchers are still peeling back, layer by remarkable layer. Most people think of blueberries as nothing more than a topping for their morning breakfast, or a sweet little afternoon snack. But blueberries, and especially the smaller wild variety, carry one of the very highest concentrations of anthocyanins of any food on the entire planet. Anthocyanins are the deep blue-purple pigments that give the berry its rich, beautiful color, and they happen to be among the most powerful brain-protective compounds known to nutritional science today. Here is the science, and I will keep it clear, because this part truly matters for you. As we age, our brains slowly accumulate something we call neuroinflammation, a low-grade, chronic, smoldering inflammation burning quietly inside the brain tissue itself. Picture this neuroinflammation as a terrible traffic jam clogging up your brain's most vital communication highways. The signals still try their best to reach their destinations, but everything slows to a painful crawl, connections get hopelessly tangled, and your memories struggle both to form properly and to be retrieved right when you need them most. After the age of 70, this neuroinflammation rises very sharply in most people, and researchers at the Cleveland Clinic now consider it one of the primary engines driving age-related memory decline. Blueberries fight this battle head-on. Their tiny anthocyanins are small enough to cross what we call the blood-brain barrier, your brain's security checkpoint, a gateway that most substances simply cannot pass through. Once inside, they suppress the inflammatory proteins called cytokines, the very ones responsible for damaging the neurons that hold your memories. A study published in the journal Nutritional Neuroscience found that older adults who ate wild blueberries daily for 12 weeks showed measurable improvements in both memory and executive function. Have about half a cup of fresh or frozen wild blueberries roughly 60 to 90 minutes before bed, and pair them with a little healthy fat for better absorption, because anthocyanins absorb far better alongside fat. Hold gently onto that idea, because we will return to it very soon. Coming in at number 4 is a food that most seniors already have sitting quietly in their refrigerator right now, yet almost nobody is eating it at the right time of day to capture its full brain benefit. I am talking about Greek yogurt, and specifically about what happens inside your aging brain when you eat it during the calm, quiet hours before sleep. The reason Greek yogurt earns its treasured place on this list is not primarily its calcium or its protein, though both matter tremendously. The reason is its exceptionally high concentration of tryptophan, an amino acid that serves as a direct precursor to serotonin. And that serotonin, in turn, converts into melatonin. Picture tryptophan as a raw ingredient being delivered fresh to a busy factory floor. Your brain receives it, processes it into serotonin, then transforms that serotonin into the melatonin that governs your entire sleep cycle. So when you eat Greek yogurt before bed, you are essentially restocking your brain's production line with everything it needs to run its overnight maintenance at full and complete capacity. But here is where it becomes especially relevant for anyone over 60. There is a well-documented phenomenon in aging biology called anabolic resistance, which is simply the medical term for your body's reduced ability to use protein effectively as the years accumulate. After 70, both your muscles and your brain become noticeably less efficient at pulling the building blocks they need from the protein you eat during your day. However, research from Maastricht University in the Netherlands found that slow-digesting proteins eaten in the evening, specifically the casein protein found so abundantly in Greek yogurt, are handled quite differently by the body. Because casein digests slowly, over 6 to 8 long hours, it sustains a steady availability of amino acids throughout the entire night, giving your aging metabolism a far longer window to absorb exactly what it needs. For your brain, that sustained supply means a continuous flow of raw materials needed to repair your synaptic connections, the tiny junctions between brain cells where your memories are physically stored. 1 cup of full-fat Greek yogurt holds roughly 17 to 20 grams of protein with a casein-dominant profile. A study at Florida State University found older adults who consumed casein before bed showed significantly greater overnight protein synthesis and stronger cognitive recovery. So take 1 cup of full-fat Greek yogurt, never the fat-free kind, about 45 minutes before bed. Stir in a few blueberries from number 5 for an extra boost, but please avoid granola or anything sugary, which spikes your insulin and actively sabotages the very repair work we are trying so hard to support. Now I want to pause for just one moment and ask you something. If this information is opening your eyes the way it has opened the eyes of so many of my patients over the years, please take a moment right now to press that like button and subscribe if you have not already done so. I release a brand new video every single week, designed specifically for people who are serious about protecting their brain health and their hard-won independence. Every subscription tells me you want more of this, and it helps me reach the millions of seniors silently struggling tonight who have never once been handed this information. Your support means more to me than I can easily say. Now, let us climb into the top 3. This is where things become truly powerful. At number 3, and I want you to listen very closely because this one tends to surprise people, we have walnuts. Not a generic handful of mixed nuts, not almonds, not cashews, specifically walnuts. The reason comes down to a compound found in remarkably few foods on Earth. I once had a patient, Margaret, 74 years old, a retired school teacher from Burlington, Vermont. She came to me frightened and frustrated in equal measure. She had been misplacing things, losing the thread of conversations halfway through, forgetting the names of people she had known for decades. Her regular physician had simply told her this was normal aging, and there was nothing to be done. Margaret began eating a small handful of walnuts every night before bed as part of a broader protocol, and within 8 weeks she told me, and I still remember her exact words, "It feels like someone turned a light back on." Now I am always careful here because I never make miracle claims, and every single person is different. But Margaret's experience reflects what the science consistently shows us. Walnuts are the only nut carrying a meaningful amount of a specific omega-3 fatty acid called alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA, combined with a high concentration of polyphenols and a unique antioxidant called ellagic acid. They supply the building blocks your body uses to maintain DHA, the fatty acid making up roughly 60% of your brain's structural fat. Picture DHA as the insulation wrapped snugly around electrical wiring. Without enough of it, the signals traveling between your brain cells become slow, distorted, inefficient. After 65, your brain's ability to maintain its DHA drops dramatically. Research published in the Journal of Nutrition, Health, and Aging found older adults who ate walnuts regularly demonstrated significantly better memory scores and faster processing speeds. A separate study from the University of California, Los Angeles, involving over 600 adults with an average age of 68, found higher walnut consumption was linked to a 52% lower risk of poor cognitive function. 52%. That number deserves to be on billboards. And the timing matters because of your brain's overnight cleaning system, the glymphatic system, which switches on during deep sleep and flushes out metabolic waste, including the amyloid plaques tied to Alzheimer's disease. Eat between 1 and 1.5 ounces of raw or dry roasted walnuts, about 14 halves, roughly 60 minutes before sleep. Avoid the oil-roasted, salted kind. And here is the synergy tip. Pair your walnuts with the blueberries from number 5 for a compounded anti-inflammatory effect more powerful than either alone. At number 2, we have something humans have eaten for thousands of years, something ancient physicians across many cultures prescribed for mental clarity, and that modern neuroscience is now validating in ways those old healers could never have dreamed. We are talking about raw honey, and I need to be very precise about both the type and the dose. Raw, unprocessed honey, specifically Manuka honey or local raw wildflower honey, contains a remarkable flavonoid called pinosembrin, found in very few other dietary sources on Earth. Pinosembrin has been shown in research at the University of Waikato in New Zealand to promote the growth of new neurons in the hippocampus, the region of your brain most directly responsible for forming and storing new memories. This process of growing new brain cells, called neurogenesis, was once believed to stop entirely in early adulthood. We now know it continues throughout your whole life inside the hippocampus. Raw honey accelerates it. Processed sugar does precisely the opposite. Why does this matter so much for people over 65? After 75, your hippocampus shrinks at roughly 1 to 2% per year without active protective measures. But researchers at the National Brain Research Center in India found daily consumption of raw honey was associated with significantly increased levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. Think of BDNF as fertilizer for your brain. Adults over 60 typically carry BDNF levels 30 to 40% lower than younger adults. Raw honey helps restore them. There is also honey's effect on cortisol, the stress hormone. Elevated cortisol at night literally damages hippocampal cells and suppresses the deep sleep stages where memory consolidation happens. Research from the University of Malaya showed subjects who consumed raw honey before bed demonstrated significantly lower midnight cortisol and higher memory scores the following morning. Take 1 to 2 teaspoons of raw honey about 30 minutes before bed. The honey must be raw and unheated because pasteurization destroys the very compounds responsible for neurogenesis. Stir it into warm, not hot, herbal tea and pair it with your Greek yogurt. I had another patient, Robert, 71, a retired engineer from Scottsdale, Arizona. When he began struggling to remember his neighbors' names and forgetting mid-sentence what he had meant to say, he described it as the most disorienting experience of his life. Robert began the evening brain protocol with raw honey as a cornerstone. After 10 weeks, he returned genuinely emotional. He had started doing crossword puzzles again, something he had quietly given up. His wife told him he seemed like himself again. That, my friend, is what we are truly talking about here. Real life reclaimed. And now we arrive at number 1, the most powerful brain-repairing food you can eat before bed. The one I told you most people over 70 have been advised to avoid, and the one I consider the single most important dietary intervention for cognitive longevity across my entire career. That food is fatty fish, specifically wild-caught salmon, sardines, or mackerel, eaten as a light evening meal approximately 2 hours before bed. I know exactly what many of you are thinking right now. You have been told to watch your cholesterol carefully. You have been warned that eating before bed leads to weight gain. I am going to ask you to set those concerns aside for just a moment, because the gap between the common advice so many seniors have received and what the research actually demonstrates has never been wider than on this very topic. Wild-caught fatty fish is the most concentrated dietary source of preformed DHA and EPA, the 2 omega-3 fatty acids that are not merely helpful, but structurally essential to your brain. Your brain is roughly 60% fat by dry weight, and the single most important fat within that is DHA. Every neuron is wrapped in a membrane made largely of DHA. Here is the critical age-specific issue. After 60, your liver's ability to convert plant-based omega-3s into the DHA your brain actually uses drops by roughly 60 to 70%. The only truly reliable way to ensure your brain receives adequate DHA is through direct consumption of preformed omega-3s. Research from Rush University Medical Center in Chicago, part of the landmark MIND diet study involving over 900 older adults, found those who ate fish at least once per week had brains the cognitive equivalent of 11 years younger. 11 years younger. And the evening timing is particularly powerful, again because of the glymphatic system. Researchers at the University of Rochester found glymphatic clearance was up to 60% more efficient during sleep when subjects had adequate DHA levels. Wild salmon is also rich in astaxanthin, a carotenoid antioxidant roughly 20 times more powerful than vitamin C, which targets the mitochondria inside your neurons, the tiny energy engines within every brain cell. Fatty fish is also exceptionally rich in vitamin D3, vitamin B12, and selenium, three nutrients in which the majority of people over 65 are clinically deficient. Researchers at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden followed over 1,000 adults aged 60 to 90 for 7 years, and found those with the highest blood levels of omega-3 at the start showed 73% less hippocampal shrinkage. 73%. For sourcing, wild-caught Alaskan salmon, Atlantic sardines packed in water or olive oil, and Atlantic mackerel are your finest options. Eat a modest portion about 2 hours before bed, prepared simply, baked or steamed rather than fried, 2 to 3 times per week to start. So there you have it, my dear friend. Blueberries, Greek yogurt, walnuts, raw honey, and wild-caught fatty fish. 5 ordinary foods available to you right now that work quietly through the night to rebuild the single most irreplaceable thing you will ever own in this life. You do not need a prescription. You do not need anyone's permission at all. You only need to begin tonight with one single small step, and then again tomorrow night, and the night after that, until it becomes simply who you are. Thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart for staying with me all the way through to the end. If this gave you even one small piece of hope tonight, please share this video with someone you love dearly. Press that like button and subscribe so we can keep this remarkable community growing strong together night after night. I will see you in the next one, my friend.